In the cold dark of space, a small colony hung silent on the edge of a dying star. Its skies burned red with enemy fire. The Valkyrie Empire had come without warning, sweeping through the colony's defenses like a storm through dry leaves. Buildings collapsed, ships exploded, and the last few survivors huddled inside underground shelters, praying to be forgotten. But no one was ever forgotten by the Valkyrie. They erased everything. On the command bridge of the colony's main station, a lone officer fought to send a distress signal. The air was filled with smoke, alarms, and fear. "Please, anyone," she whispered, pressing a shaking hand against the console. Her voice was broken by static, her signal weak. "This is Station Hope. To any friendly world, we are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack." The message drifted into the void, a ghostly echo among the stars. The officer fell silent, knowing it might never be heard. In the far reaches of the galaxy, countless races received the SOS, but none dared answer. Everyone knew the Valkyrie Empire. To help the colony was to invite destruction. The Galactic Council watched in silence. "No one will go," one counselor said coldly. "Not against the Valkyrie." Another whispered, "Let them burn. Better them than us." So the message was ignored, pushed aside like so many cries before it. Yet the signal did not die. It kept moving, hopping across satellites, broken networks, and dead frequencies, until it reached a place most thought was a myth. A planet marked on ancient maps as a death world. A world where gravity crushed, storms raged, and life fought to survive every second. A planet called Earth. The message hit an old relay floating in orbit around the moon. The ancient system woke from sleep, blinking to life after centuries of silence. Deep underground, in a bunker hidden beneath mountains, a soft alarm began to beep. A human technician frowned. "That can't be right," he muttered, staring at the old monitor. "We're receiving a distress call from off-world?" The room filled with officers as the recording played. The voice was broken, desperate, and full of fear. The words barely made sense through the static, but the pain was clear. A silence followed. Then, slowly, someone said, "We haven't heard an alien signal in over 100 years." The commander of the bunker, an older man with gray eyes, looked at the screen and whispered, "They found us." News spread through Earth's hidden defense network, something most of the galaxy believed no longer existed. Long ago, humans had vanished from galactic records after refusing to join the Council. They were called dangerous, unpredictable, a threat to balance. Some said they'd destroyed themselves. But that was a lie. Humanity had gone silent, building in the shadows, waiting, watching. And now, the silence had ended. In orbit, ancient warships stirred. Machines long asleep powered up. Across the dark side of the moon, lights flared as massive hangar doors opened. One by one, ships rose into the stars, black, armored, and deadly. Their hulls carried the scars of 1,000 battles long forgotten. Each bore the same insignia, a silver wolf's head against a field of stars. In the command center, Admiral Rain watched the transmission loop again. He leaned forward, voice low and steady. "The Valkyrie are still out there," he said. "And they're killing again." A younger officer hesitated. "Sir, the Galactic Council won't like this. They declared no contact centuries ago. If we intervene, if we don't," Rain cut him off, "those people die. And the Valkyrie grow bolder." He turned to his fleet command display. Hundreds of ships blinked green, ready. "Prepare the Deathworld fleet," he ordered. "We move at dawn." The Council intercepted fragments of the transmission. Panic spread through their chambers. The humans heard the SOS, one alien delegate whispered. "Impossible," said another. "Earth was sealed." "Then how do you explain this?" The hologram showed the activation of multiple Earth fleets. The Council fell silent. Someone murmured the words every race feared, "The Deathworlders are coming." Far across the galaxy, the Valkyrie Empire laughed. Their leaders mocked the idea that the humans still lived. A forgotten race from a poisoned planet? Let them come, the Emperor said, his voice dripping with arrogance. We will crush them as we crushed all others. But even as he spoke, something ancient moved beneath Earth's surface. Massive engines roared to life. The oceans trembled as hidden shipyards opened after centuries. The stars above began to shimmer as stealth fields dropped, revealing massive fleets cloaked in black. The first human ships launched without fanfare, silent and cold. Their drives cut through space like knives through water. Each ship carried not soldiers, but survivors, men and women hardened by the most dangerous world in known space. They did not fight for empire. They fought for life itself. And when the final ship left orbit, Admiral Rain looked back at Earth one last time. Whoever sent that signal, he said quietly, they're family now. He opened a secure channel, typing 3 simple words into the transmission. The message shot across the galaxy, aimed directly at the burning colony. It was short, clear, and carried the weight of a world born from chaos. The screen blinked once, then displayed the reply that would shake the stars. We're coming home. Across the endless dark of space, something old and powerful stirred. The Deathworlders' fleet, humanity's hidden armada, had awakened. For centuries, it had slept in silence, buried under the shadows of the moon, hidden beneath the black seas of Earth, and anchored in forgotten orbits where no light reached. Now, engines ignited, tearing the silence apart. One by one, titanic warships rose, their armor reflecting faint blue light. These ships were not built for peace or diplomacy. They were built for survival, forged by the hands of those who had lived through extinction itself. On the command deck of the flagship, UNS Nemesis, Admiral Rain stood watching the void. His reflection shimmered on the reinforced glass before him. Behind his calm eyes, there was no fear, only memory. He had grown up hearing stories of humanity's old wars, the chaos, the loss, the victory that came only when all seemed lost. And now, after so long, those stories were becoming real again. A voice echoed through the bridge. Admiral, all ships report ready. Engines at full charge. Weapons locked and calibrated. Rain nodded. Good. Keep comms silent. No transmissions. The galaxy must not know we're moving. The officer saluted. Aye, sir. Around him, screens flickered with tactical data, hundreds of human ships preparing for launch. From sleek destroyers to colossal dreadnoughts, the Deathworld fleet came alive like a sleeping beast stretching its claws. Deep in the ship's core, reactors hummed with terrifying power, energy strong enough to tear space apart. Humanity had hidden too long. Now it was time to remind the stars what they truly were. In the distant capital of the Galactic Council, panic spread like wildfire. The council chambers, once filled with calm debate, now echoed with shouts. The humans are mobilizing, a reptilian envoy cried. Our scanners show hundreds of war signatures from Sol System. Impossible, hissed another. Earth was supposed to be isolated. You don't understand, a trembling ambassador said. Deathworlders never forget. If they heard that SOS, they'll come. The council's supreme speaker pounded the table. We must send word to the Valkyrie Empire before it's too late. But deep down, every species in that room already knew, it was too late. The Valkyrie had provoked something they could not control. Meanwhile, light years away, the Valkyrie armadas celebrated their recent victory. They had crushed the human colony and turned its surface into ash. Their emperor sat upon a throne of steel, surrounded by banners of conquest. Who dares stand against us now? He laughed. The galaxy fears our name. His generals bowed, but one of them hesitated. My lord, we have received whispers that the humans may still exist. The emperor waved a clawed hand. Old myths. Their kind is long dead. The death world burned itself centuries ago. But as he spoke, the stars outside his palace seemed to flicker, like eyes opening in the dark. Back aboard the Nemesis, Rain's fleet prepared for the jump. The navigation officer called out, coordinates set for the colony system. Estimated time to arrival, 37 minutes after jump. Rain stood straight, hands clasped behind his back. Execute jump when ready. A deep hum filled the ship as hyperspace engines powered up. The fleet shimmered, space bending around them, stars stretching into white lines. In a heartbeat, Earth's armada vanished. The void returned to silence. In hyperspace, everything was chaos, colors twisting, time distorting, but the Deathworlders moved through it with calm precision. They had mastered what others feared. Within minutes, they were approaching the edge of the Valkyrie-occupied system. On the tactical screen, a glowing red storm of enemy ships surrounded the burning colony below. The human officers stared in silence. "So many," one whispered. 10,000 ships, maybe more. Rain's voice was steady. "Numbers never scared us. Fear is their weapon. Ours is resolve." He turned toward his communications officer. "Send the signal to all ships, silent formation, prepare to engage." The Deathworld fleet slipped out of hyperspace in total silence. No bright flashes, no alarms, only shadows appearing among the stars. The Valkyrie never noticed until it was too late. Their sensors screamed a second too slow. "Incoming signatures. Unknown class," the message cut off in static. The human fleet began to move. Each ship locked weapons, targeting systems humming. "Target their command ships first," Rain ordered. No warnings. For a long moment, the Admiral looked out into space, eyes fixed on the glowing planet below. He thought of the woman who sent the SOS, the desperate voice that reached them across the void. "We're here now," he whispered. Then he gave the order. "Fire." From the Nemesis broadside, blue fire erupted, a storm of kinetic rounds and plasma bolts slicing through space. The first Valkyrie ships exploded instantly, shields ripped apart by the sheer force of human railguns. Across the system, chaos erupted. The Valkyrie tried to respond, but their formations shattered under the sudden attack. "Who are they?" one of their captains screamed before her ship vanished in fire. Humanity didn't answer. They didn't broadcast demands or threats. They spoke in the only language the galaxy had taught them: power. As the battle raged, the colonists on the ground looked up through the smoke. For the first time, they saw strange black ships streaking through the sky, their hulls gleaming like shadows under the burning sun. One child pointed upward. "Who are they?" he asked. His mother, tears in her eyes, whispered, "Angels. No, Deathworlders." Hours later, the last Valkyrie cruiser exploded in orbit, its wreckage scattering across the void. The Deathworld fleet drifted through the debris, silent and precise, finishing the work. Admiral Rain stood on the bridge, expression unreadable. "Status. All enemy ships neutralized, sir. Minimal losses." Rain nodded slowly. "Then it begins." "What begins, sir?" the officer asked. Rain looked at the stars. "Retribution." He opened a secure channel, sending a transmission back to Earth. "Operation Homecoming successful. Colony secured. Awaiting further orders." As the message left the system, a new one arrived, from the Galactic Council. It was short, panicked, and full of fear. "Admiral Rain, stand down immediately. You don't understand what you've done." Rain looked at the message for a long moment before shutting it off. "No," he said softly. "You don't understand what you've done." Outside, the fleet turned as one, engines glowing against the black. Their next destination was already set, the heart of the Valkyrie Empire. The Valkyrie Empire had never known fear. For thousands of years, their fleets ruled the stars with fire and iron. They conquered without mercy, enslaved without hesitation, and destroyed without regret. To them, domination was not cruelty, it was destiny. But when the Deathworlders arrived, destiny began to tremble. At first, the Valkyrie commanders mocked the humans. "A primitive race from a poisoned rock," they laughed. "Let them come. We'll crush them like insects." In their arrogance, they prepared an ambush near the outer rim, a massive fleet of 10,000 ships orbiting a dying red star. Their plan was simple: lure the human fleet in and erase it from existence. They didn't know that humanity didn't walk into traps. They made them. As the Valkyrie prepared, the human fleet remained silent. No signals. No transmissions. Just darkness. On board the UNS Nemesis, Admiral Raines studied the enemy's formation. The holographic display showed a swirling wall of red dots, Valkyrie warships, massive and confident. "They think we're going to charge them head-on," said Commander Imani, his tactical officer. "They've blocked every approach." Raines smiled faintly. "Good. That means they won't see the back door." He tapped the console, revealing a hidden vector through a field of unstable debris, the remnants of an ancient battle. "They won't expect anyone to fly through that." "Sir," Imani said carefully, "the gravitational pull in that region could tear our ships apart." Raines' eyes were calm. "Then it's a good thing we're Deathworlders. We live where everything tries to kill us." He gave the order: "All ships, engage silent drift." We move through the graveyard. The human fleet disappeared into the void, engines muted, hulls coated with stealth fields. Among the wreckage of long-dead warships, they crept forward like shadows in fog. Broken hulls floated past them, ghosts of forgotten wars. Each pilot felt the weight of history pressing on their chest, but none turned back. They had come for one reason: to answer the call for help. Meanwhile, above the burning colony, the Valkyrie fleet waited. Their flagship, the Emperor's Wrath, hung like a dark fortress among the stars. Admiral Kor, a massive, scarred alien, stood before his officers, his claws tapping the control table. "Still no sign of them?" "No, sir," replied his aide. "Our scanners show nothing." Kor sneered. "Cowards. They ran away." But then, a small blip appeared on the edge of the screen. One ship. Then another. Then hundreds. "Impossible," the aide gasped. "They're behind us." Before Kor could speak, the first human salvo struck. Blue-white streaks of light sliced through the void, hitting Valkyrie ships with pinpoint precision. Explosions rippled across their formation. Shields shattered. Engines failed. In less than a minute, the ambush had become a massacre. "Return fire," Kor roared, but it was too late. The Deathworlders had already vanished into the dark, repositioning before the Valkyrie could track them. From above, the colonists on the ground saw the night sky flash with light, silent bursts of fire painting the heavens. "What's happening?" someone whispered. The answer came from the colony's radio, a human voice, calm and steady. "This is Admiral Rain of Earth. We are here. Stay down and stay alive." Across the Valkyrie command decks, confusion turned to terror. "They're everywhere. Our systems are blind. They're using weapons I've never seen." The Nemesis moved through the battlefield like a ghost, its guns cutting through enemy cruisers with surgical precision. For every human ship destroyed, 50 Valkyrie ships vanished in flames. "Who are they?" a Valkyrie officer screamed as her ship was torn apart. The answer came moments before the explosion consumed her: "We are Deathworlders." On the Nemesis, Rain stood at the center of chaos, his voice calm as ice. "Maintain formation. No emotion, no hesitation. Remember why we're here." The crew responded in perfect unison. They didn't cheer. They didn't boast. They simply fought. Every maneuver, every shot, was measured and precise. They weren't fighting for glory, they were fighting for justice. In orbit below, the colonists began to realize what was happening. Through the smoke and fire, strange black ships loomed, their engines glowing like blue ghosts. "They came for us," one survivor whispered. "They actually came." A child pointed at the sky, where a Valkyrie battleship exploded into 1,000 burning fragments. "Mom," he said softly, "are they angels?" She shook her head. "No, son. They're from Earth." Hours passed, and the once invincible Valkyrie fleet was reduced to wreckage. Admiral Kor's flagship drifted helplessly, its weapons gone, its shields dead. The human fleet surrounded it silently. Kor stared at the dark ships closing in, and for the first time in his life, he felt something he had never known: fear. He opened a channel. "Humans," he hissed, "you don't understand what you've done. The Emperor will destroy you for this." Admiral Rain's voice came through, calm and quiet. "The Emperor already destroyed himself when he chose to burn the innocent. You think you can fight the Empire?" Kor spat. "You think your tiny world can stand against us?" "We don't think," Rain said. "We know." The transmission ended. Seconds later, the Nemesis fired one final railgun round. The shot pierced the Valkyrie flagship clean through, and it exploded in a burst of white fire that lit the dead world below. Silence followed. No one spoke. Only the crackle of burning debris filled the void. Admiral Rain looked out at the wreckage. "Status: all hostiles neutralized, sir. Colony secured. Minimal human losses." Rain nodded slowly. "Good. Get rescue teams on the surface. Those people have been through enough." As dropships descended toward the colony, survivors gathered on the cracked plains, staring up at the night sky. A soldier helped a wounded woman to her feet. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "Who are they?" The soldier smiled. "The monsters the galaxy tried to forget." Back on the Nemesis, Rain stood alone at the viewport. The stars flickered faintly, the smoke of battle drifting through the void. He knew this victory was only the beginning. The Valkyrie would not forgive, and the Galactic Council would not stay silent. But it didn't matter. Humanity had returned to the stars, and the universe would never be the same. As the fleet turned to face the next horizon, Rain whispered to himself, "We are Deathworlders, and this is only the beginning." The stars still burned with the fire of battle, but for the Deathworlders, the war was far from over. The shattered remains of the Valkyrie fleet drifted silently through space, glowing like dying embers. Below, the colony that had called for help was half destroyed but alive. Human rescue teams moved through the ruins, pulling survivors from the rubble, offering food and medical aid. For the first time in generations, the people of the galaxy saw what humanity truly was. Not monsters, not conquerors, but protectors forged from hardship. Yet while Earth's fleet celebrated its first victory, deep in the core of the Valkyrie Empire, a storm was rising. On the throne world of Vale Tor, the Valkyrie Emperor sat upon a massive iron seat surrounded by the banners of 1,000 conquered worlds. The chamber was silent as the last surviving commander of the outer fleet kneeled before him, trembling. "Speak," the Emperor hissed, his golden eyes glowing with rage. "What happened?" The commander's voice cracked. "The human fleet, my lord, they came from nowhere. Our ships, our entire armada, was destroyed." "By who?" the Emperor roared. "By a forgotten species?" The commander lowered his head. "They called themselves Deathworlders." The Emperor rose slowly, his armor clanking like thunder. The room seemed to shake as his fury spread. "Deathworlders," he spat. "That word was banned from our records long ago. I thought they were gone." He turned toward the war table. Holograms of human ships flickered before him, sleek and silent, unlike any design his empire had ever seen. "So, the beasts have crawled back from their grave," he said darkly. "Then we shall send them back into it." His generals bowed, awaiting orders. "Mobilize the Imperial Armada," the Emperor commanded. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. Burn their world to ashes. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who defy the Valkyrie." Across the Empire, alarms began to sound. Massive hangars opened, revealing legions of black and crimson warships. Factories poured smoke into the skies as new weapons were forged. The greatest army the galaxy had ever seen was being prepared to march upon Earth. Meanwhile, the Deathworld fleet regrouped in orbit around the liberated colony. On board the UNS Nemesis, Admiral Rain stood before his officers as the holotable displayed reports of the battle. "We lost 77 ships," Commander Imani said softly. "But we saved nearly 1,000,000 lives." Rain nodded. and gave the rest of the galaxy something to believe in. He looked around the room. But don't think for a second this is over. The Valkyrie will come for us. Harder, stronger, and angrier than before. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. What's our next move, sir? We go home, Rain replied. We prepare Earth for what's coming. As the fleet set course for home, fragments of the battle spread through the galaxy. News networks, smugglers, and refugees carried whispers of the Deathworlders' return. The legend that once haunted the stars had come back to life. They say they came from the Forbidden Planet, one trader told another in a dark spaceport. They say their ships move faster than light itself. I heard they fight without fear, another said. That they don't conquer, they avenge. The Galactic Council met in emergency session, the chamber filled with panic and confusion. The humans have destroyed a Valkyrie armada, shouted one delegate. Do you know what this means? The Empire will retaliate. Then let them fight each other, another sneered. Better they destroy each other than come for us. But a few among them were silent, remembering the old stories, the ones that spoke of Earth, the Deathworld, and the species that had once nearly conquered extinction itself. They knew this was not just another war. It was the beginning of something far greater. Back in the Sol system, Earth's defenses came alive. Giant satellites lit up across orbit, forming a web of shields and railgun arrays. On the moon, hidden factories roared to life. Under the oceans, massive subcarriers rose to the surface. Humanity, once forgotten and dismissed, was preparing for the greatest war in galactic history. Rain stood in the observation bay of the Nemesis, watching the blue glow of Earth grow larger as the fleet approached. For a moment, he allowed himself to feel something other than duty, pride. We came from nothing, he said quietly. And now, the stars are watching us. Commander Imani joined him, eyes fixed on the same view. Do you think we can win? Rain didn't answer right away. He watched the sunlight reflect off the oceans of home. Winning isn't the point, he said finally. Surviving is. And if we do, the galaxy will never be the same. At that same moment, far across the stars, the Valkyrie armada left their docks. Thousands of ships moved together in perfect formation, a wall of fire and metal that stretched for light years. Their engines roared like thunder as they turned toward one single destination, Earth. The Emperor stood on his command bridge, staring into the endless night. You wanted to be remembered, Deathworlders, he said coldly. I will write your name in fire. The stars shifted as both fleets moved. The galaxy, once peaceful, now held its breath. The Council tried to remain neutral, but every race knew what was coming. Whispers spread like wind through the void. The Deathworlders are rising, and the Empire is coming. Back on Earth, every soldier, scientist, and engineer worked tirelessly. Massive orbital cannons were tested, planetary shields reinforced, and AI-controlled fleets assembled. Humanity had no illusions. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and alone. But they were also something the Valkyrie could never understand. They were from a world that killed the weak, burned the careless, and shaped the survivors into warriors. They were from Earth. As the Deathworld fleet entered orbit, the night skies of every city lit up with fire from descending ships. People gathered on rooftops and beaches, watching the return of their defenders. For the first time in centuries, humanity stood united under one purpose, to defend their home. In the command hall, Rain addressed his fleet one last time. The Valkyrie think we're weak. They think we fear death. But they've never met a world that taught its children how to fight the universe itself. When they come, he said, his voice echoing through every ship, show them what it means to challenge Deathworlders. And as the stars darkened with the shadow of the oncoming war, Earth prepared to make history once more. The first signs of the coming storm appeared as faint distortions in deep space, tiny ripples that no ordinary scanners could detect. But the Deathworlders were not ordinary. On the UNS Nemesis, alarms began to pulse softly. Multiple warp signatures, the sensor officer reported. Massive in scale. Admiral Rain didn't move. He stared at the tactical map forming before him, his expression carved from stone. One by one, red markers filled the screen until it glowed like a wound in the dark. "They've come," Rain said quietly. "The Valkyrie Armada." Across Earth's orbit, defense platforms activated. The sky shimmered with energy as planetary shields came online. On the moon, railguns the size of mountains turned toward the stars. From the oceans, submerged launch platforms rose like metal giants, dripping water as missiles armed themselves. Every hidden weapon humanity had kept in silence for centuries now roared awake. The Galactic Council observed from afar, terrified. "They won't survive this," one delegate said. "No one could." "You don't understand," murmured an older ambassador. "They're not fighting to win. They're fighting because they refuse to die." The Valkyrie fleet tore out of hyperspace with the fury of a god. Thousands of ships, dark and spiked, filled the void like a plague. The Emperor's flagship, the Vengeance of Vale Tor, led the armada. Its hull glowed with ancient energy, and its weapons could melt cities from orbit. On its bridge, the Emperor watched Earth through the holographic display. "So this is the fabled Deathworld," he said with disgust. "A blue stone wrapped in clouds. End it." The order was given. The Valkyrie ships moved into firing position. Planetary annihilation cannons charged, filling the darkness with crimson light. But before they could fire, the stars themselves seemed to twist. From the far side of the system, space rippled open. The Deathworld fleet had arrived. Hundreds of human ships emerged in perfect formation, silent, dark, and relentless. Their arrival was not accompanied by a roar or a battle cry. Only the hum of engines and the calm voice of Admiral Rain over the comms. "All units, this is Rain. You know what to do. Protect Earth at all costs." The Valkyrie opened fire first. Beams of pure destruction lanced through the void, tearing apart asteroids and satellites. But when the light faded, the human fleet was still there, shields blazing. The first counterattack came from the Nemesis. Its main cannon fired a single shot that tore through 3 enemy cruisers in a row. Railgun rounds followed, streaking like meteors through space. The Valkyrie ships staggered as explosions rippled through their ranks. "Impossible!" cried one Valkyrie commander. "Their weapons shouldn't pierce our shields." On Earth, the night sky erupted in color. Citizens stood on rooftops and mountains, watching as beams of light clashed above their world. It was beautiful and terrifying, like the gods themselves were at war. Inside the Nemesis, Commander Imani called out over the chaos. "We're holding the line, but their numbers are overwhelming." Rain's voice stayed steady. "Numbers don't win wars, Commander. Resolve does." He turned to the tactical display. "Order all Titan-class carriers to launch the drones." The order went through. Massive hangar bays opened across the fleet, releasing millions of autonomous combat drones, small, fast, and deadly. They swarmed through enemy formations, overwhelming Valkyrie point defenses. The sky filled with streaks of light as drones sacrificed themselves to tear enemy ships apart from within. The Valkyrie countered with plasma storms and energy mines, but humanity adapted fast. They moved with precision, coordinating attacks that no AI could predict. The Deathworlders had learned to fight chaos because chaos was their home. As the battle raged, the Emperor leaned forward on his throne. "Bring the fleet closer. Crush their defenses." The Valkyrie ships advanced, breaking through the first line of orbital platforms. Dozens of human stations were destroyed, but every explosion bought time. On the ground, Earth cities braced for impact. Evacuation shelters filled, and the skies thundered as anti-orbital cannons fired from hidden bunkers. Over the comms, voices echoed from soldiers across the world. "This is ARC Station reporting. Shields at 90%. Lunar Battery Alpha online. Firing now. Pacific Defense Line engaging targets." The Earth itself fought back. A storm of light rose from the surface as railguns and missiles launched from every continent. The Valkyrie fleet staggered again. Their scanners struggled to keep up with the unpredictable, brutal resistance. "This is madness," one alien officer shouted. "They fight like they want to die." "No," said his commander grimly. "They fight like they've already survived worse." Back on the Nemesis, the ship shook violently as enemy fire hit the hull. Sparks flew across the bridge. "Damage report," Rain called. "Minor hull breach on Deck 7. "We can hold," Imani replied. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Valkyrie flagship." Rain nodded. "Put it through." The Emperor's image appeared, towering and furious. "Human," he hissed, "you cannot win. You are outnumbered, outmatched, outlived. Surrender, and I may spare your world's ashes." Rain's face was unreadable. "You came to our home," he said. "You burned worlds that called for mercy. You think fear is victory. But you forgot what fear creates." He leaned forward. "It creates us." Then he cut the channel. "Target the vengeance of Vale Tor. Full power to the main gun." The bridge filled with light as the weapon charged. Every ship in the fleet aligned, transferring energy through linked conduits. Across the system, power readings spiked off the charts. The Emperor's officers shouted in alarm. "They're combining their fire. Shields won't hold." Rain stood tall as the final sequence engaged. For every cry they ignored, for every world they burned, fire. The beam unleashed was brighter than a star. It pierced the darkness, crossing the void in seconds. The Valkyrie flagship tried to evade, but it was too slow. The shot tore through its hull, ripping the ship in half. The explosion lit up the system, turning night into day. For a moment, there was silence, then cheers erupted across the human comms. "Direct hit. Flagship destroyed. They're retreating." The remaining Valkyrie ships began to scatter, breaking formation. Some fled. Some fought to the bitter end. Humanity pressed the attack, driving them back. The sky above Earth cleared slowly, filled only with drifting wreckage and the faint glow of victory. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Rain exhaled, his voice calm but heavy. "Status report." "We held, sir," Imani said. "But they'll be back." Rain nodded. "Then we'll be ready." He looked at the blue planet below, the world that had taught them how to survive everything the universe could throw at them. "This is our home," he said quietly. "And no one takes it from us." In the days after the Great Battle, the void around Earth was silent again. Wreckage drifted through the stars, a graveyard of fire and metal. The Valkyrie Armada, once feared across the galaxy, was shattered. Yet humanity did not celebrate with parades or triumph. They worked. They rebuilt. They watched. On the UNS Nemesis, engineers repaired the scars across the hull. The ship bore the marks of battle, cracks, burns, and melted armor, but it still stood, a symbol of human defiance. Admiral Rain stood on the observation deck, staring at the distant light of the ruined Valkyrie flagship. He knew what it meant. They had won a battle, but not the war. "Any word from the Council?" he asked quietly. Commander Imani nodded. "Yes, sir. They've sent a delegation. They want to speak about peace talks." Rain gave a cold smile. Peace talks. Now they remember the word. When the Galactic Council's fleet arrived, it came in peace, their ships unarmed and glowing with white diplomatic lights. The ambassadors stepped onto Earth's surface for the first time, wearing expressions of awe and unease. The humans they saw were not broken or fearful, they were strong, organized, and calm. The world that had once been called a death world, now stood as the heart of resistance. In the Great Council Hall in Geneva, Rain faced the ambassadors. Around him stood scientists, soldiers, and representatives from Earth's colonies. The lead ambassador, a slender being with silver skin, began carefully. "Admiral Rain, the Council wishes to commend humanity for its resilience. However, we must discuss the future. The Valkyrie Empire is wounded but not dead. Retaliation is possible. The Council proposes a truce, a demilitarized zone around your system, and joint control over your defense network to ensure stability. Rain's eyes hardened. You mean control us? Again. The ambassador hesitated. Control is not the right word. It's exactly the right word, Rain interrupted. We called for help when the Valkyrie burned our colonies. You refused. Now that we've proven we can fight back, suddenly you want cooperation. The chamber was silent. The ambassador's voice trembled slightly. You must understand, Admiral, humanity's strength frightens many worlds. They fear what you might become. Rain stepped forward slowly, his boots echoing on the floor. They should. The words hung in the air like thunder. Outside, the human fleet was visible through the hall's transparent roof. Rows of ships patrolling the sky, their engines glowing with silent power. The council delegation exchanged nervous glances. Admiral, one alien said softly, what do you intend to do now? Rain turned toward the stars. We intend to survive. And we'll make sure no one, Valkyrie or Council, ever decides our fate again. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread like wildfire. Planets once ruled by the Valkyrie began to rise in rebellion. Slave worlds declared independence. In distant systems, whispers began. The Deathworlders fought the Empire and won. To many, humanity became a legend, a story of defiance, of impossible victory. But to the Valkyrie, it was humiliation. On the shattered world of Vale Tor, the new emperor, son of the fallen ruler, stood among the wreckage of his palace. The great banners of the empire lay torn and burned. Around him, his generals waited in silence. My father is dead, the young emperor said, his voice filled with controlled fury. And the Deathworlders are to blame. One of the generals bowed. Our fleets are scattered, my lord. It will take years to rebuild. The emperor turned sharply. Then we will rebuild. Stronger. Smarter. We will make the stars themselves burn for what they have done. He looked out into the night sky where Earth's star glimmered faintly. Prepare the shadow fleet. Let them think they have peace. We will return. Back on Earth, scientists worked tirelessly to analyze alien technology recovered from the battlefield. Reverse engineering Valkyrie systems had accelerated human advancement by decades. Warp drive stability, plasma weapon efficiency, and new forms of shielding, all were being studied. In the orbital labs above Mars, Dr. Elena Voss examined fragments of alien hull material. They used bioreactive alloys, she explained to her team. If we can adapt this tech, our ships could repair themselves. Humanity was evolving faster than anyone in the galaxy had imagined. But with that evolution came unease. Some feared what humanity was becoming. Some even whispered that the Deathworlders were no longer entirely human, that war had changed them. Admiral Rain often sat alone in his quarters, watching the stars drift by. The silence after battle was heavier than the sound of war. You can feel it too, can't you? Imani said one night as she joined him. The calm before something worse. Rain nodded. They'll come again. The Valkyrie don't forgive. And the Council doesn't forget. Imani looked out the viewport. So what do we do? Rain's eyes stayed on the stars. We prepare. And when they come, we'll remind them why this planet was called a death world. Far beyond the Milky Way's edge, in the dark regions where light itself hesitated to travel, something ancient stirred. A signal, faint but real, pulsed through the void. It was not Valkyrie, not human, but older, deeper, and colder. It spread slowly, reaching forgotten outposts and dead worlds. In the blackness, a single message echoed, the Deathworlders have awakened. The balance is broken. On the Nemesis, a long-range sensor pinged quietly. Admiral, a young officer said, frowning at his display, we're picking up something strange. It's distant, but it's heading this way. Rain looked up slowly. Show me. The screen flickered to life, showing a faint energy reading moving across the galactic edge, steady, deliberate, unstoppable. Can you identify it? No, sir. But it's not Valkyrie. Rain stared at the pattern for a long moment, a chill creeping through his bones. Send it to command. Mark it as priority 1. He turned toward the stars again, his voice a whisper. Looks like the universe just noticed we're here. The calm peace humanity had earned was already beginning to fracture. And somewhere in the cold abyss, something vast and ancient was listening. The strange signal did not fade. It grew stronger with every passing day. What began as a faint pulse soon became a pattern, rhythmic and deliberate, like a heartbeat in the dark. On the UNS Nemesis, the crew worked without rest to decode it. Dr. Elena Voss led the research team, her eyes red from sleepless nights. It's not random, she said, staring at the glowing holographic waveform. It's a message. Something, or someone, is trying to talk to us. Admiral Rain stood behind her, arms crossed. Can you tell where it's coming from? She hesitated. Not exactly. The signal originates from the edge of the galactic core, near the void systems, uncharted space. But the energy reading is unlike anything we've seen. It's old. Old. Rain repeated. Voss nodded. Older than any known civilization. Older than the Council. Maybe older than the stars themselves. The room went silent. Outside the ship's viewport, Earth's blue glow shimmered in the distance, a fragile light in an endless void. Rain finally said, "Send the data to command. But keep the analysis restricted. If this leaks, the Council will panic." As expected, it didn't stay secret for long. Within weeks, the Galactic Council demanded explanations. Their intelligence networks had intercepted fragments of the human data. Fearing another cosmic power rising, the Council summoned Rain to the central chamber on Arinder Prime. The hall was filled with delegates from hundreds of species. Holographic banners floated above their seats, each displaying the emblem of their homeworlds. When Rain entered, whispers rippled through the crowd. "The Deathworlder Admiral," someone muttered. "The one who destroyed the Valkyrie flagship." Rain ignored them and approached the council dais. The High Speaker, a tall being of light and mist, addressed him. "Admiral Rain of Earth, you have detected a new anomaly. We demand full disclosure. What is this signal you hide?" Rain's voice was calm but cold. "It's not something we understand yet. It may not even be a threat." "And yet," the speaker interrupted, "the energy readings surpass any known civilization. You cannot keep this secret. The galaxy must know." Rain's gaze hardened. The last time the galaxy knew, it stood by while billions died. "Forgive me if humanity prefers to investigate alone." Murmurs filled the chamber. One alien delegate slammed a hand against the table. "You Deathworlders think you can defy the Council? You bring war wherever you go." Rain's eyes met his. "We didn't bring war. We survived it." The silence that followed was heavy. The speaker finally said, "Very well, Admiral. But understand this, if your actions endanger the galaxy, Earth will answer for it." Rain gave a short nod. "If the galaxy is in danger, you'll be the last to know." Then he turned and left. Back aboard the Nemesis, preparations began for a new mission. Humanity would send an expedition to the signal source, a system near the galactic core known only as the Black Reach. It was a place no ship had ever returned from. Command approved the mission under one name, Operation Deep Echo. The fleet consisted of 3 vessels, the Nemesis, the Horizon, and the Valkyr. Each carried scientists, soldiers, and advanced AI drones designed for deep space reconnaissance. Before launch, Rain addressed the crew. "We don't know what we'll find out there," he said. "It could be a ruin, a message, or a warning. But remember who we are. We're Deathworlders. We look into the dark because others can't." The fleet departed in silence, vanishing into the void. Days turned into weeks as they crossed uncharted space. The stars grew dimmer, swallowed by the black haze that surrounded the galactic core. Strange gravitational distortions appeared, bending light and time itself. On board the horizon, Dr. Voss monitored the readings. The signal's amplitude is rising. We're close. Then, suddenly, all three ships emerged into an empty expanse. No stars, no planets, just a single massive object floating in the darkness. It wasn't a planet or an asteroid. It was a structure. "My God," Voss whispered. "It's artificial." The object was colossal, larger than Earth's moon, shaped like a ring surrounding a dark sphere. Its surface was covered in strange symbols that pulsed faintly with light. Rain ordered the fleet to hold position. "Scan everything," he said. "If this thing wakes up, I want to know before it sneezes." The scans returned impossible results. The structure emitted no heat, no radiation, no movement. Yet the signal was coming from within it, steady and strong. Then the symbols began to glow brighter. The darkness around the structure rippled like water. "Admiral," Voss said urgently, "something's activating." Before anyone could respond, every ship's system flickered. Lights dimmed. Engines stuttered. The crews heard a deep, low sound reverberate through the hulls, like a voice speaking from inside their bones. "Can anyone hear that?" Imani whispered. Then a voice filled every channel. It was not human, not alien, but something vast and ancient. "You have awakened the sentinels of the first dawn." The words echoed across every ship. "You are not the first. You will not be the last. The cycle begins anew." Then the light engulfed them. The Nemesis's sensors exploded with data as the entire fleet was pulled toward the sphere. Gravity twisted reality. The ships vanished inside. When the light faded, only silence remained. Back in the Sol system, Earth Command waited for updates that never came. Hours turned to days. No signal, no beacon, no trace. Admiral Rain, the Nemesis, and the entire fleet had disappeared into the void. And far away, beyond the edge of known space, the ancient machine pulsed again, its signal stronger, clearer, and now directed toward Earth. The message repeated endlessly through the cosmos: "The Deathworlders have entered the cycle." Humanity had thought it had defeated its enemies. But what they had truly done was awaken something older than war itself. Something that had been waiting for the return of life strong enough to challenge eternity.